I did go to number one on the pop charts, and I did still feel despair.
I took a pill in Ibiza.
Please welcome Mike Posner.
The Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter.
This is a guy who has earned fame, then lost it, then earned it back again.
When you were experiencing fame for the first time,
Mike Posner!
what was that like for you?
It was overwhelming.
What do you think was the hardest part about your journey? We just ran about 5 miles. I did not expect to run 5 miles today, but you are a serious runner.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are too.
I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
I'm so curious what your adventure is that you're preparing for this summer.
Can't tell you. Soon.
So everybody that knows Mike and is a fan of Mike knows that he is not only an incredible artist and songwriter and producer, but you also have this real adventurous side of you and spiritual side of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I love life, and it's so easy to put yourself in a box or allow others to put you in a box, but I like my calendar to reflect my heart. And one of the things I love is being outside in epic places, and I love mountains, and I love being outside in natural parks, so I do that. And most artists don't do that. It isn't maybe a big part of their life, and that's fine, but I like both those things, so my life reflects that.
Growing up, were you always somebody that loved sports and being outside as a kid?
My mom, God bless her heart, they put a lot of effort into exposing me to the outdoors. And I grew up in Detroit, and a lot of my friends never went on planes or never went to the mountains and stuff, but my parents they would drive us to places like Colorado and stuff. Can you imagine 2 kids in a minivan, 4 days, 3-4 days driving us? And so it's really, I have my parents to thank, for my mom and my dad, for giving me that exposure, because both of my parents are city people, but they gave us that exposure, my sister and I. And I think maybe they kind of regretted it when I started climbing Everest and stuff like that. But I took it a little far. But yeah, that's how the seed was planted.
My favorite things to do as a kid was when my parents would take us hiking. And I grew up in New Jersey, so there aren't that many places to hike.
New Jersey's beautiful. Yeah, I walked across New Jersey.
You started your walk across America in Asbury Park, right?
Yeah, I remember just thinking, this state is beautiful. Oh, so it's the Garden State. Oh, I get it,
Jersey gets a bad rep. But I'm seriously, there are parts of Jersey that are so beautiful.
Beautiful.
So for people that are wondering what I just referenced, Mike walked across America. So before he hiked Mount Everest, he accomplished another serious feat. And you started in Asbury Park. Mm-hmm. Was there a significance to starting in Asbury Park for you? I mean, besides Bruce Springsteen?
That was it. I think I read Bruce's book a couple years. No, I think that year. And also I had played the Stone Pony before. So I'd done a concert there, and we were just looking on the map of places that we could start. Originally, I was going to try to go to Detroit. On my walk, I decided not to do that because it was an extra 200-mile loop. And by the time I got to Ohio, I was like, this is hard enough. So it was roughly in the right place, and so it was just a smattering of cities on the eastern seaboard. I hadn't heard of any of them except that one. And it was also a place that was really important. I wanted to start in the water. So there's a public beach there. So I wanted to go from ocean to ocean.
Oh, that's
and so
cool.
It checked all those boxes.
Did you have a ton of people that came out to kind of walk with you at your start?
There was about 30 people there at the beginning. And at the beginning, before I ended up getting bit by a rattlesnake 2/3 of the way, but before that, I would say, if you find me, you can walk with me. And so people came from all over the U.S. to walk with me. And we talked a little bit about this on our run, but I would always ask, why did you come here? And sometimes they just wanted a picture. Sometimes they just wanted to see if they could find me, like it was a weird scavenger hunt. But sometimes they came because they had no one else to talk to. So it was a really deep experience. And often the troubles or problems or challenges that the people would tell me about that they were going through reminded me of my own, or helped me see my own challenges in a new way.
What do you think, besides getting bit by a rattlesnake, was the hardest part about your journey?
I can think of a few hard parts.
Let's do physically, mentally, and emotionally, because I feel like they're all kind of separate.
Yeah, that's fair. the physical and mental one were around the same time. It's in Missouri getting into Kansas, where at the beginning, the pain, the physical pain, was somewhere in the realm of physical pain I had experienced before being a runner growing up. I'm like, oh, this is like, I can compare this to running cross country in high school. Or now it's worse than high school, but it's still in the same ballpark. And after 1,000 miles, it wasn't in the same world anymore. And so you're waking up every day, and it makes me a little emotional, but it's hard to stand up. And the pain is just unfurls like a branch, an evil tree, from the heels up the legs into the hips. And you're just thinking, like, I'm not sure if the damage I'm doing now is recoverable, because I have no reference point. Is this permanent? To be in a place in your life to know that as bad as this hurts physically, to quit and go back to the life I left behind is worse. And so now I do a really good job taking care of this body, but to be in a journey where your body is speaking to you very clearly every day, saying one sentence, a one-word sentence: stop, 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 stop. You're hurting me. Stop. And your spirit is saying something just as clearly. Two-word sentence: keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And deciding every single day, I'm going to listen to spirit.
I have so many follow-ups from that. Let's start here. Do you feel like your pain threshold went up after that experience? Like, did it change you?
Yeah, it changed me from the core. Yeah. You know, actually, a more accurate way to say it is it helped me see who I really was. So it didn't who I am, who you are, is there in every moment. And we can lose sight of it. We can put mental concepts or judgments or things, and the mental clutter can be like a screen in front of reality, or it can cover over the soul. But the soul, it's not there. So you're never changing your soul. You're just unveiling it more. So I think your question was in regards to pain. Yeah, if we made a graph of my experience of pain as the journey went on, it was linear. It just went more and more and more and more and more and more and more. We could also do a graph of the space of my consciousness. That was like a parabolic curve. So as the pain was getting more, the space of who I was got bigger, meaning I was experiencing more intense pain, but the pain was like a cloud in a big sky. Instead of, if you zoom in on just a cloud, it looks like your whole reality. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm really passionate about the topic of purpose. I think a lot of people talk about finding their purpose and figuring out who they are. And I think it's actually one of the hardest things that you can do, but also one of the most important things, to figure out what is your calling, what is the impact that you want to have, and why are you on this earth. I'm not kidding when I say I think about it all the time. And I really, especially as I've gotten older, have kind of double clicked into it even more and said to myself, what is the impact that I want to leave on the people that choose to watch my content, that are in my life? So I'm curious, like, based on what you said and what you learned about yourself, what is your purpose?
It's beautiful that you asked the question. It's more important that it seems like you've come up with an answer. And when you have that answer, that's like a North Star. It's like a direction north. You don't get to it. Like a goal you can achieve and be done. Your purpose is a direction. But when you have that clarity, you can start to work downstream like you do, meaning, then what are my yearly goals? What do I want to accomplish this year that's in line with this purpose, which you have? And then what are my weekly goals? And then what are my daily goals? And not only the accomplishments, but what is the intention behind the show? What is the impact I want to have? Also, purpose can change, and I think it should. One of my favorite books is Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I'm not sure if he says it this way. Maybe I minced his words, but I like to think about it like this. Most people look at life and question, why is life not meeting my expectations? I think we're supposed to do the opposite, meaning, why am I not meeting life's expectations of me? So this is a backdoor way to get to purpose. What does life expect of me? Or a nicer way to frame it, what is life calling forth from me? And that can change in a moment, in a season. So if you asked me 2 years ago, I would have said, I'm Mike Posner, see, hear, feel, and know. My purpose is to be a kind artist who creates transcendence for myself and others. 1 year ago, it changed. My purpose is to be a leader who unlocks the magic potential in myself and others. This year, it changed again. I realized there's still a little bit of ego in that. Like, it's my job. It's not my job 24/7 to unlock the magic potential in myself, right? Some people don't need their magic potential unlocked, right? Some people just want to sell you a coffee, right? You know, it's like I'm in the 7-Eleven. I'm going to unlock the magic potential, right?
Yeah, I like that, though. It's cool.
It's cool, but it's part of my life. If I go into my family, right, I'll tell you what it is now, but I'm just speak a little more on why there's a flaw in that, right? If I go to my mom, I'm going to unlock the magic. She doesn't need to be coached by me 24/7. My girlfriend, she needs to be coached by me. So she needs me to be loved by me, right? So my purpose now that you asked me on this day, I'm Mike Posner. I see, I hear, I feel, I know. My purpose is to do God's will. That's it. Simple. And that changes moment to moment to moment. The more I do that, I let go of control of my life, the better it flows. And so that's my purpose now. I've given a lot of thought to this, purpose, and like you're an entrepreneur, you're a hustler. Like, it's very clear, like, you've built this incredible thing out of like that coincides with your passions, and it's amazing. And so people like us, we always have a vision. You have a vision. And joy comes from a beautiful vision mixed with presence. So presence plus beautiful vision equals joy. So the pitfall for myself sometimes, if you overweight one of those too much, like I have this vision I'm working towards, but it can start to feel too heavy. At the end of the day, we're here just in Earth School, right? You have a vision, like you're creating something beautiful. You have goals for it, I'm sure. Like they're probably mapped out. You know what I mean?
I mean, I have goals for myself, but while I think it's important to have goals, I think it's really important to let life happen and be really present. Because if you're not present, you're missing so many opportunities that might come your way, right?
You got to have both. Because just the presence without, I've tried that before. Like spent a lot of time sitting with my legs crossed like this, like at the retreat center or the monastery. You have to have both and have them in balance.
I'm sure this has taken a lot of work to like get where you are today. If we can like roll back the tape and go back to when you were kind of just experiencing fame for the first time, what was that like for you?
It was overwhelming. I wasn't used to getting that much attention.
Mm-hmm. Did you like the attention?
Well, part of me loved it and craved it and worshipped it before I had it, because I thought that if I got it, my internal state would change, would be better. I thought it would result in me feeling more respect for myself. And I got it, and then I didn't. I felt exactly the same. So my mind creeps in, oh, maybe you just need to get more of it, right? So it's a tale as old as time, right? It's such a cliche story. I'm almost like hesitant to tell it, But that was my experience. And so part of me craved it, and then part of me hated it, and then part of me wanted to get attention for it being so hard, and the whole thing. It was just a vicious cycle and spiral into nothing. But at this point, I can see how it happened for me. I couldn't teach what I teach now if I didn't have these experiences. I couldn't tell people, hey, this is what life is really about. Presence plus compelling vision of the future equals joy. Had I not gone through this, I would have no perspective on it. People say, well, what did you ever accomplish? Well, I've accomplished a lot now, so I can actually speak to it, right? Not from theory, not from a book, but because I did feel despair. I did go to #1 on the pop charts, and I did still feel despair. I did walk across America. I did climb Everest. I did contemplate suicide in my life, and I did get to a point now where my life is incredible, not without challenges. I like big challenges, most of them internal. Often, a few days ago, I'm like, what am I doing, right? But I know how to meet these challenges, and I have a track record of meeting every challenge, and that's a self-respect that I earned in myself. All these challenges that came up in my life, I can look back and truly be grateful for them, because without any of them, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to connect on a deep level with other people that are in pain. Humans are funny, right? We have all different lives. We're all so unique, but the emotions we feel, I believe, are kind of the same.
I really like what you said about how could you speak to something if you hadn't experienced it? Because that is so true, and it's so cool, like the perspective that you have on situations. I mean, it's not every day you get to meet somebody that has had the level of success that you've had, and also had the level of self-reflection. What is your advice to kind of younger people that might have been in your shoes or going through those same kind of emotions, even if it isn't fame?
Yeah, or some kind of success.
Right.
Know? Yeah, I wish I had like a big brother at the time. You've experienced some version of this. Like you start to have success, and then a lot of opportunities come. A ton of them. More than you can physically do. And a lot of them are opportunities you would have killed for a year ago. And now all of a sudden, there's too many of them. Like too many good ones. So I always say learning how to say no is a big one. I have scripts in my phone that I call them elegant no's. So it's like a no, basically a decline of an invitation that I've sat down and written is a beautiful, elegant no. And I'll use that as a template to respond to invitations that are good, but they're not aligned with the purpose.
Learning how to say no is such a skill that people need to learn. And I feel like it's a really hard skill to learn, especially when you're young. And I'm sure you had a lot of experiences with this where it's like you were 22, 21 with hit songs. And all of a sudden you've got everybody being like, I want to interview him. I want to have him on my show. You know, I want to help him produce a music video. So learning how to say no is a real challenge.
Yeah, that's a big one. I wish I knew them. Yeah, and that it's okay to say no. I was really scared to disappoint people.
On the topic of fame and highs and lows, I didn't realize that your song, I Took a Pill in Ibiza, was about what it was about until I was doing some research on you recently.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that journey of what you were going through when you wrote that hit song, I Took a Pill in Ibiza?
I was in the studio with my friend Jake Owen. He's a country artist. We were basically doing what's called passing the guitar. So I would play a song from the guitar. Then I'd pass it to him. He'd play one. And he'd pass it back. And I'd play him a song. And Jake said, what's that song about? I said, it's about this girl I had a thing with in New York. And then some of it I just made up. And I remember he looked at me. He was like, well, why don't you just tell the truth? I thought, well, the people I work with in LA aren't really concerned with telling the truth in songs. They're just concerned with writing hits. Like I thought.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think if you go into the recording studios, like the underlying, sometimes unspoken messages, like we're trying to write a hit, and it's gotten a lot worse in the last few years, where people are like, hey, this line is TikTokable. Not all of the music, but much of the music is made in kind of like this factory mindset. Meaning it's not like the focus isn't to make something beautiful, it's to make something popular. So I had kind of gone through that wash cycle and was coming out the other side of it. And that night I was on the plane with his question, why don't you just tell the truth, bouncing off the walls of my head. And I just opened up my notebook and wrote that song.
It's amazing. And you actually had an experience, right, when you were in Ibiza at an Avicii concert.
I was jealous. My career had peaked and then troughed, and now I'm in Sweden. I'm alone. I'm drunk. That's when I still drink, and I'm in the VIP section, and I wander out of the VIP section, desperate, hoping someone is gonna recognize old Mike Posner and give me a hit of significance. And my prayers are answered. Someone shows up and the plastic bag of pills and like, you want one of these? I'm like, yeah. And so I just take a unknown drug from an unknown person, mixing it with alcohol, and I'm looking at my friend on the stage, and I want to be where he is, and I'm not. And I used to be up there. And so that night I felt just about as lonely as a man can feel. I wrote the song not that night. I think people think, oh, I wrote that. No, I wrote it like 2 or 3 years later because I had needed time to contextualize it in the context or in the framework of my life. So I wasn't maybe in that exact emotional state as I wrote it, but I could remember it. I can remember it now, and it makes it more special that my life is what it is now. I mean, my life was a symbol for hedonism. I still meet people to this day. I go, oh man, I thought you were gonna be an asshole. I thought you were a DJ. I thought you were a douchebag. That's what my life stood for when my career started, was drinking, partying, hooking up with girls, smoking. And now to have my life be a symbol for something else, it's nothing but pride. So I'm almost, in a sick way, proud of my flaws, where I came from, because I know what I had to do to become who I am now.
It's just going to be so cool to see where you continue to grow. I actually wrote down one of the lyrics from your song because I thought it was so
Which
ironic
one?
Of I took a pill in Ibiza.
Okay.
But I loved the lyric that was, I'm just a singer who already blew his shot, because the irony of that, knowing what you were going through when you wrote that lyric and that song, I would have had no idea.
I wrote this song, and it is years later that it became popular.
Right. And it started out as an acoustic version, right?
Correct.
And then when did it become kind of the pop song that people loved so much?
Well, these guys did a remix to it named Sieb, these 2 guys in Norway. And so it was like years later. I remember playing that song in the park for people, just on my guitar. And then, I would see it like, oh, it blew up in Norway and in Sweden. I'm like, whoa. It started to get popular, the remix of it.
When it did kind of make its resurgence, were you like, whoa?
Yeah, I was just like, this is crazy. It's like a song about not being famous, and it's making me famous. It's like, so yeah, it's like life is beautiful, and life is humorous.
And life can be so many things. You think you're one thing, and then very quickly you become another, right? Because you went from producing hit songs to then starting to write music for other people. And I remember you wrote Justin Bieber's Boyfriend. Like, you wrote so many songs for Maroon 5. Like, I mean, it's incredible. So did you quickly say to yourself, okay, I'm going to pivot from producing my own music to writing for other people?
No, my career just was going horribly. So my record label wasn't really putting my songs out. So I was like, I guess they were all songs for me, those songs I'd written for my album. And I was like, well, I'd rather have them come out, somebody else sing them, than just not come out. So that was it. Yeah, that time.
And it's crazy to say, like, you're like, my career was going horribly, but you were so young. Like, there were so many years, So, like, if you could go back and, like, give advice to your younger self that was, like, going through that low, what would it be?
In that context, that's the job. But you don't know that at that point, because there's a big high in your music career, and then there's a big low. And, to be frank, a lot of people, first off, most people never get to that high. Right? For most people that want to get in the music industry, be artists, fail. And then there's a lot of people, right? There's so many people that go through the experience I'm about to say, that there's a name for it. One hit wonder. So there's no way for me to know when I'm in that low that I'm going to come back up again. And my career is going to come back up again. So knowing what I know now, I would say, hey, man, that's the job when you're an artist. Like, you surf these waves of fame and popularity, but your job is to make beautiful art. So I would say that to that young man. You can't control the popularity. people sometimes ask me, when you putting out your next hit song? I'm like, dude, if I could control when they were hits, I would do it today. I just write. I make art. And then sometimes they get popular. I don't know why or which ones. It's always random, And so in some respects, as an artist, your job is to ignore the attention. You can enjoy it, but it's a byproduct, not the direction, not the purpose.
I know you've got a new album coming out, which I'm so excited to listen to it.
Thank you.
So like, what can we expect in this new album, and what about it do you feel like is different than the music you've written in the past?
That's a good question. The album is titled The Beginning, and for me it was the beginning starts at the end. It's funny you turn a phrase, like you start at the end. This music is music I made as the soundtrack to my own transformation. It's a gift to be able to create that for yourself and then share it and know that, hey, this is going to go out into the universe, and hopefully it's going to be a conduit to other people getting closer to their own soul, their own truth, or helping them through a tough time. And that's it. Maya Angelou said, your legacy lies in the hearts of those that you touch. But doing what you do or I do, we don't get to meet all the people's hearts that we touch. So you just do good work and share it. So thanks for letting me share it with you and your audience.
Thank you so much. Well, Mike, I'm so excited for your new album to come out. What's the best way for people to follow your journey, stay up to date on all the things you have going on?
Yeah, a couple of different ways. For the music, follow me on Spotify. The core of my work exists. I have a community, and we do a call every Thursday at 3 p.m. And then there's a community that the people are connected with all week, and it's just a beautiful group of human beings that are up-leveling their lives like you.
Wait, that's so cool.
Yeah, so we're on Zoom every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, or 6 p.m. Eastern. We're in New York, and on those calls, we dance. We usually do some kind of breath work or meditation, and then I work with people. I usually ask, like, who's really fucked up, who's really going through something, and I just work with them. And if I have a distinction that can help, I'll give it to them. If not, we just all pray for them, and that's what we do every week. So it's 100% free, totally free. And if you join that community, there's another album in our community that only exists there. It's not on Spotify nor else, just for the community, and it's also totally free. So that's the main thing I'm working on. So if you or your viewers or your husband want to join,
that's an amazing thing that you do.
Yeah,
wow.
it's my favorite thing in my week. Like,
yeah,
you see, I light up when I talk about it. So.
I know. Do they share their stories with the group?
Oh yeah, it's deep. It's deep. Like, so people be in there like, I'm drinking every day. People going through, like, it's real. It's real. It's not softball questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
How do you respond to like an addiction question like that?
For me, it's always first listening deeply. We talked about that a few times. It's like, I have to really listen and understand where this person is. What are they really saying behind even their words? And feel that. And then if I'm doing a good job, I'm surrendering, and I'm sort of letting my purpose do God's will. I'm letting spirit guide me. And I, like you said, I got this big bag of tricks and hacks and tools and all this stuff, but if I'm not in the place of listening or grace, they won't hear me. So that's the biggest thing. States or moods are infectious, but good states are infectious too, which is why you love interviewing people on the run, like you talked about. So if I could just remember, like, I can't give someone something I don't have. So getting into a state, letting grace be there, and go from there. And then I got all these tools and stuff, but it has to start with the state.
Yeah, and I feel like it's an amazing practice also to actively listen to people, especially that are going through hard times, because like you live this really exciting life. I feel like sometimes when you've got so much going on, it's hard to give people your one-on-one undivided, like present attention. So I feel like that act in itself of you speaking to somebody that might be struggling with addiction or going through a loss or grieving something, it is spiritual in itself. And I also think like one of the things that we kind of talked about on the run that I've definitely learned and had to learn is that when you're listening to somebody, it's okay to not totally understand what they're going through or not be able to relate to it.
Yeah, I think that's well said. You mean even understanding that you can't understand the nuance. Just the gift of hearing someone is a real gift that we all can give each other, you know. So
I agree. All right. Well, I love you. This was so fun.
peace.
Peace.